Lesson 9. One day I walked into an elementary school. This was a kindergarten through grade 5 school. They had 342 children in this school. And I walked into a faculty meeting, and there was a very animated discussion going on. And I asked the principal, what's the issue that you're working on here? And she said, well, here's our problem. We have 342 children in this school, and last year, in this elementary school, we had 420 suspensions. Just let that sink in for a second. This is an elementary school. And 420 times in the preceding year, from among these 342 kids, they sent kids home. I said, yeah, that's a problem. We better work on this. She said, we're working on it. We're trying to sort this out. We're trying to understand why this is happening. And I really commended her for her leadership on this thing, and I had to leave, so I didn't get to see what happened. And I came back to the school about 7 or 8 months later, and I'm walking in the front door, and over the door is this huge sign, you know, like on construction projects where they say, you know, we haven't had an accident since some day. Their sign said, we've had X number of suspensions, and we haven't had a suspension since whenever. It was right above the front door. And I'm walking in, and there's this little guy standing there, and he's looking up at the sign, and he's shaking his head, and he sees me, and he says, I'm not one of them. Which was fine, because the number up there was 42. 420 suspensions the year before, 42 this year. Same kids, same faculty. Something was different. So I rushed in to see the principal. His name was Chris. I said, Chris, you got to tell me what happened. She said, well, remember that day when you came to visit us? We were really wrestling with this thing. We were really animated about, you know, the kids and the issues and so on. And somebody in the group said, listen to how we're talking about the kids. We're calling them those kids. Them. We're acting as though they're not our kids. She said the whole room went silent. And the same person said, what would we do if every one of these kids was one of our kids? What would be different about the way we behave? What would be different about the culture in our school? And they wrestled with that. She says, we wrestled with that all day, and at the end of the day, we made 2 huge changes in our school. So the first thing is, we got rid of the behavior room. Now, the phrase behavior room is one of the most ill-conceived phrases in the English language. Because what the behavior room is, you know, you got a kid in your room, you can't stand having them in your room anymore, so you send them to the behavior room, where there's some pseudo-cop that's going to supervise them. And the problem, of course, is once you get 2 or 3 of these kids in the behavior room, they're not learning how to behave, they're teaching one another how to screw up. And then they come back to your room and they're worse than when they start. So she says we closed the behavior room. Because we said if they were our kids, they would be our responsibility. And the second thing we did is we got rid of that pseudo-cop that we had in the behavior room, and we hired a school psychologist. I said, that's interesting. Who was the school psychologist going to work with? She said, not the kids, with the teachers. To help the teachers understand the connection between their behavior and the behavior of the students. So if you think about this story for just a second, what they wanted to get was changed behavior from the students. But the path they chose to get there was to change themselves first. See, that's how it works, right? We're in a system, and we don't control many of the things in the systems in which we work, but we do control us. And for me, the lesson is, if you want people to change, you got to change first. If you want people to do something different, you need to be different. It really is up to us.